Alright, this is for the 89 calculator users, and this is how to find a maximum or a minimum on your calculator. So note I have the quadratic function here, and some of these you should be fairly familiar with. So I'm going to go to my y equals and enter this equation into my calculator. So again, your y equals is diamond F1, because your y equals is in green, so you have to do your green diamond button. So if you go diamond F1, you might have some old functions in there, so I'm going to clear out my old, clear button right here, and type in 3x squared minus 10x minus 19. So 3, your x key is right here. Then to square something, remember you use your caret, so I'm going to do raised to the second power. Then minus, don't use your negative, so minus 10x and minus 19, and press enter, and it'll save that equation into your y equals for you. Now next you probably want to start with a zoom standard just in case your graph fits nicely in a 10 by 10 window. Most of the time it doesn't, but start there. It's a good starting point. So remember, zoom is set up here F2, so I go to F2 for zoom, and then standard is number 6, zoom standard, and that'll graph whatever fits in a 10 by 10 window. So from here in your 10 by 10 window, I need to see my minimum. Well, I can tell it's opening up, which it should because A is positive, but I don't see my minimum. And to use the minimum feature, you actually have to be able to see it. So I'm going to adjust my window. Now I can zoom in and zoom out and whatnot, but I'm so close to seeing my minimum. I know that my y minimum just needs to be more. So right now it's negative 10. So if you go to your window, and this is all right here, by the way. All these directions are on Moodle too. So diamond F2 for window, and my y min was slotted to be negative 10. I'm going to change it to like negative 30. Remember, your negative is right here, so negative 30. And that's going to make my, obviously, negative y values lower. Now, don't do a zoom again, so now you just want to go to graph so you don't overwrite what you just typed in. So diamond F3 for graph, and hopefully we can see our minimum. And yes, and sometimes it's not enough, so you keep going back to your window and adjusting until you see what you want to see. Now that I see my minimum from my graph, I'm going to go to F5, and notice F5 here says math. Okay, so choose F5 for math, and then you see you have a minimum and a maximum option. So since my parabola is opening up, I obviously want a minimum, so make sure you choose the correct one. So choose minimum, then it's going to, don't press anything, it's going to prompt you for lower bound. Okay, so you want to move your cursor to the min and the max as best as you can. Okay, so I'm going to bring my cursor around over here to my minimum, roughly. It doesn't have to be perfect, by the way. Now, lower bound, for lower bound, you want to move your cursor to the left. So lower kind of means to the left of your maximum or minimum, in this case minimum. So for lower bound, I'm going to go just a little bit to the left of my minimum, and then you press enter. Then it's going to prompt you for upper bound. So for upper bound, you want to press enter to the right of your maximum or minimum. So now I'm going to bring my cursor over here to the right. So there I am to the right of my minimum, and press enter, and then your calculator will take a second and it'll tell you what that minimum point is. So 1.666 and negative 27.3, repeating, and that is my minimum point. Now if you wanted the minimum value, remember that's just the y coordinate, and that's how you find a minimum.